It's about to get real juicy when it comes to the Xbox Activision Blizzard acquisition and the FTC case going forward. As we saw earlier this week with the subpoena, Sony is going to be forced to provide a lot of documents, a lot of stuff that has to do with third-party deals and content licensing and documents from the custodians that Microsoft has requested. So it's going to be very interesting if these documents do come out to the public. And I believe for them to come out to the public, they will have to go to that case in August. So it may not ever actually get to that case, but if it does, we could see a lot of interesting stuff at the inner workings of the business transactions that PlayStation does make. We have this article here from The Verge saying that Sony might be forced to reveal how much it pays to keep games off of Xbox Game Pass. And I think that's going to be an extremely telling number to show the power of Xbox Game Pass and the threat that the subscription model, the cloud-based gaming service has on PlayStation, and why they don't want this deal to go through. So it says Sony might be forced to detail its PlayStation exclusivity deals and how much it pays for blocking rights to keep games off of rival services like Xbox Game Pass. And we know that they are against this type of stuff. We've seen previous stuff where documents have come out in the Epic versus Apple case where they just don't want games on other platforms. They want to try to keep everything closed off to PlayStation so that they can make the most amount of money. I mean, that's their business, and that's what they are trying to do, which makes sense for PlayStation. We saw that with the cross-platform stuff where they really wanted to get benefited and paid for allowing cross-platform cross-play with the PlayStation platform, thinking that they bring more customers, they bring more players through PSN, that they should be compensated for those additional customers that they are bringing for cross-play. And obviously they went back on that, and now cross-play is open. But there was a time where PlayStation was strongly against crossplay, which we wouldn't have the stuff that we have today, even with games like Call of Duty, where you can play with people across all the different platforms. Continues here and says the FTC has sued to try and block Microsoft's Activision Blizzard acquisition and kicked off a legal discovery process, with Microsoft sending subpoenas to Sony to force it to reveal records, internal documentation, and emails from the company's PlayStation unit. And then Kotaku, they spotted that the FTC's chief administrative judge, Michael Chappell, has now sided with Microsoft's request for details of Sony's PlayStation exclusivity deals. This is the summary of exactly what PlayStation is going to have to provide. Microsoft argues that the complaint in this case makes a number of allegations regarding high-performance video game consoles, developers' exclusivity arrangements with video game publishers. Microsoft states that it is aware that SIE requires many third-party publishers to agree to exclusivity provisions, including preventing the publisher from putting their games on Xbox's multi-game subscription service, and that understanding the full extent of SIE's exclusivity arrangements and their effect on the industry competitiveness will assist in its defense. That will be super interesting to see if this information does come out. And of course, if they are paying us a large sum of money, if they're going out of their way to do things to block publishers and developers from putting their games on competing platforms, on competing subscription services, clearly they are using their power right now as the dominant console leader to block competitiveness, to stop people from even thinking about wanting to go over to the other platforms. And it's the same thing with them using all their money to get all this timed exclusivity stuff. Now, Xbox, Microsoft, they could do those things. Let's be honest here. They have that money. They could go out and make these deals with these publishers and these developers to block games from going in certain places, to have timed exclusivity. The thing that PlayStation has a major advantage of is they are have a big lead in the actual console market. They have a big lead in terms of brand recognition, brand IP, especially since the Xbox One and the PlayStation 4 era. Whereas Game Pass is coming back. They are coming from behind, and they are growing rapidly. And there is going to be a point where developers and publishers probably are going to look at these deals that PlayStation's offering and thinking, why would we take this offer when we can put our games on Game Pass? We can put our games on Xbox. We can take money to have our games put into a subscription service where they're going to get access to already millions and millions of gamers, and the chances that people are going to be discovering and playing our game, which will increase our brand, which will increase our marketing, all that type of stuff where people would have maybe never saw or played the game. But if they didn't put it to Game Pass, why would they not do that just because PlayStation wants to give them a bag of money, where the return on investment will probably be higher if the game goes on to the competing platforms? I think that's going to be a point where it's coming. Xbox is continuing to grow and to gain more market share, that these types of deals won't make as much sense anymore. But it will be very interesting to see just how much they have tried to slow that down with the deals that they have been making to try to make sure games do not enter other multi-game subscription services, specifically Xbox Game Pass. Now, the judge says here, the nature and extent of SIE's content licensing agreements are relevant to the complaints allegations of exclusivity arrangements between video game console developers and video game developers and publishers. And obviously the main thing that they are arguing here in terms of competitiveness is that taking Call of Duty away from a platform and keeping it exclusive and making that deal is going to hurt the nature of the video game industry. So this information will be extremely relevant for Microsoft's case. Now, they say Microsoft has also been trying to get details on Sony's deals dating back to 2012, but Judge Chappell labeled this excessive and granted Sony's request to limit the applicable time for document requests to 2019 instead. So that's the thing. We talked about it in an earlier video. It's only going to be information from 2019 until present, which I think is still going to provide a lot of good info because Game Pass came out in 2017, but it really, in the last few years, has started to pick up steam. You can see that. You can see the hype around it. You can see all of the games that are coming into it. More big third-party games. I mean, Wolong is just out on Game Pass. So that type of stuff is very telling of the success that Game Pass is and will continue to be when you have those big third-party games wanting to put their games into the service day one. And they say it's incredibly rare for details on such exclusivity deals to be made public, but the FTC case could open up some of the secrecy of the games industry in court hearings. And they talk about the Epic versus Apple case in 2021, where we saw a ton of stuff come out of that. Like I said, the cross-play stuff, the Xbox store cut, the PlayStation store cut, all of those numbers that we hadn't seen previously. But because of that case, those documents came out to the public. And they say the FTC case is still at the document discovery stage, with an evidentiary hearing scheduled for August 2nd. So if it gets there, we may see these documents. Now, here's the thing. Xbox has already offered those 10-year deals to Nintendo, to Nvidia, and the EU looks like they are going to go and approve this deal from what we are seeing right now, with them saying that they are satisfied with the remedies, or the information we have from sources and analysts that the EU has said they are satisfied with the remedies that Xbox has made in terms of these deals. That PlayStation and Sony may be looking at this and think that if the EU is going to go and approve this, there is a chance that the CMA may accept these behavioral remedies as enough to satisfy what they're looking for. So they may go and approve this, that they may just want to cut that deal with Xbox and Microsoft before it gets anywhere near that trial date in August to get this thing over with, so they don't have to reveal these documents. Because I personally think that if the likelihood that this deal is going to be approved and passed, if you're PlayStation and you're Sony, you've already done so much damage to your public image, I think, for a lot of people who have been following this case in terms of the things that they have been saying and them trying to stop this deal from going through, where we've seen other big third parties absolutely okay with this deal, that they may want to make sure they don't do any more damage. Because if these documents do come out and they look bad against Sony, which you can take a wild guess that they have been probably spending a lot of money to make sure that competing platforms don't get certain games, or competing subscription services don't get certain games, it's going to be, I think, worse for them in the long run, because people may not see it right away, but the news will trickle out, more people will read it, and more people will probably just look at that and think at the negative practices PlayStation is doing and may go over to other platforms. You never know, but I think PlayStation doesn't want that to happen at the end of the day if it is looking like this deal is going to be approved and passed. Obviously, they're going to go hard as they can when they think that they have a chance of blocking it. But when that time comes where the EU passes it and then the CMA passes it, I don't believe they would go all the way to the court case against the FTC. But we'll see if that happens. I'm going to leave the video there, guys. Let me know what you think about this stuff and what type of info do you think is going to come out. What do you think PlayStation did? How much do you think they would pay to block deals from getting onto Xbox Game Pass? If you enjoyed this video, hit that thumbs up. If you're new here, hit that subscribe. And I'll catch you guys in the next video.
We'll be right back.